This episode is made possible by New Masters Academy, the world's absolute #1 art school in the entire universe. Click the link down below for a free 7-day trial. Thank you, New Masters Academy. I am deep in the annals of your mind. I am deep in the annals of your... Hey everybody, welcome back to the Honey and Absinthe Podcast. We're your hosts. I'm Vincent, a background designer for the Hollywood animation industry yet again.
And I'm Janet, the ex-Disney artist turned independent creator, and this is a podcast about all things art, business, and whatever we feel like.
Now today we're going to talk about 2023 predictions for entertainment, culture, and economy.
But before we get into it, make sure to like, subscribe, touch all our little bells and buttons over there. Please and thank you. It helps us out.
Erect that little hand, make it nice and hard. Good to see you, everybody. Happy 2023. Ooh, finally taking a break from all those movie critiques. It has given me a new appreciation for some critics. It makes me go like, wow, I don't know how all of you do it. Do the same thing over and over and over again. That's why we like doing whatever we feel like, because we have more freedom than you. But boy, doing 4 movie reviews in a row and taking it as far as we take it, woo, a lot of work. We were even contemplating doing it for this week's Plane movie.
Yeah.
But we're just going to watch that for leisure. Our next review will probably be Knock at the Cabin, because Janet has only seen 1 or 2 M. Night Shyamalan movies. I have seen them all, except for The Happening and The Last Airbender.
Our movie reviews are half movie review, half film analysis off of the top of our head. We did not write an essay. It was just our thoughts, really. Who says we wrote
an essay?
I said it's not like we wrote an essay.
Oh, it's not like we wrote it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, I feel like some people who write film analysis videos on YouTube do. It was getting tiresome. I was like, I'm getting bored. This is why we can't stick to any one subject or topic at all, because we get too bored, and
life's too short to do the same thing over and over again, right?
We prefer to do what we want rather than milk views off of a specific niche.
We are not like that. We do whatever we want here. So this is our 3rd time doing this, right?
Yes.
Our 3rd time doing a predictions podcast for every new year. I love doing this stuff. As I say in many of the other ones, that making a prediction is like putting your butt on the line and really kind of sharing your honest opinions for the future and what lies ahead, no matter how absurd or outlandish they sound.
Yes. So we mostly only have predictions for 3 things: entertainment, culture, and economics.
We used to have one for politics, but in fact, let's start with politics and / economics.
Okay.
The reason why we're not talking about politics too much is we predict there's not going to be a whole hell of a lot happening in politics.
Yes. I, for whatever reason, was reading the Stanley Kubrick Wikipedia the other day, and I learned that Dr. Strangelove was...
one of my favorite movies in my top 10.
...was created after Kubrick read a lot of political books about the bomb at the time.
I think 40, right? Something like that.
Some crazy number.
Yeah.
He did a lot of research in preparation for the movie,
which no one in Hollywood does anymore.
I would like to believe they still kind of do, just not to that degree. That was a little excessive for Kubrick to read that many books on politics in regards to the bomb. But at the end of the day, what he came away with after reading that many books was that politics is a bunch of bullshit. The people in government who lead us are full of shit.
Incompetent.
Yes. The
people reporting on it are also incompetent and full of shit, and don't really actually care what's going on. They care about the clicks.
That's why he made a satire. That's why,
against everyone's wishes.
Yes. It's why he was like, I'm going to depict it how it really actually is. It's about ego. It's about immaturity. It's about
bodily fluids.
Yes. That's all humanity really cares about. And those are the people in charge of something as important as the bomb. And I couldn't help but, as I was reading it, relate so hard. I wish I could have, instead of read like whatever 40 books on politics, I wish it was that simple for me. But instead I had to go through getting into politics, watching politics, feeling duped, and then feeling duped several more times before finally being like,
you're all a bunch of bullshit artists, man.
yeah, I think this is
Top to
dumb.
bottom.
I think no one knows what they're talking about, and everyone's pretending like they do.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why this time around, it's our, I guess, politics predictions are more economic predictions.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's the extent of how much I care about politics at this point. I just care about, is the economy good or is the economy bad? Will it be good or will it be bad? That's about as much I think about government at this point. Other than tax season is coming up, god damn it. That's about it. So my prediction for the economy, this is based on some videos from finance YouTubers, essentially, that I've seen, and data that they have reported.
What are their names? Mention them.
So I like to watch Meet Kevin and Clear Value Tax, I think is his channel name. It's this Asian accountant man who
you have Meet Kevin for the hopium.
Yes.
And then you have the other guy for reality.
Yes. I've been really enjoying Clear Value. I wish his channel name was his name, but like, I've been really enjoying his videos because they just tell me the facts as they are, without any politics involved, without any of the hopium that tends to be in people like Meet Kevin, because they invest in stocks and stuff like that, and you never know what their intentions are with stuff like that, which is why I don't really trust people like Elon Musk when they talk about the economy either. He has too much to lose and gain when he says anything about the economy, and then people, like, when he tweets certain things, Tesla stock goes up or down. And it's kind of crazy. So I don't trust people like that. And what I've been noticing is a lot of people are predicting that things are about to start getting better. But what that means is like it's starting, which means it's really slow. A lot of people are predicting that things for the average person, you and me, at the grocery store, at the gas pump, in terms of getting paid more, being able to afford more stuff, and being able to get the jobs that they want, it's not going to get better till maybe 2025. Like, you're not going to feel the difference till 2025.
And like 2025, well, in our department, entertainment, it's going to feel, I assume, something like when Tangled first came out. It's not like fever pitch like when Frozen 2 came out.
Yeah, it's the beginning of good times.
Beginning of good times all over again.
Right now, what I'm noticing is what's crazy about finance news is that data can change. Like, they can go back a few months and be like, we were kind of wrong about the job market. We were kind of wrong about the growth of certain things, the prices of certain things. And then they go back and change it months later. And I know that's really frustrating. So people lie. They straight up just lie. And then, but like, people in like the present day time have to make decisions based sometimes on complete lies or just bad information. So I've been noticing that like people like Meet Kevin will report something and be like, oh my god, things are getting better, this is great news, we are not, prices, like inflation isn't going through the roof anymore, we're starting to control it. And then like a month later they go like, oh no, apparently the data was wrong, they had to correct the data and now it actually wasn't, but then they made decisions because it seemed like it was good, now it's bad. And I'm just like, this is exhausting to keep track of from month to month. And the person that has been the most right has been the clear value tax guy, because he's been very conservative with his predictions. And a lot of the times his predictions are based on previous history. So like he'll go back and look at like 1970s and other periods of time that are very similar to today. And a lot of those times when they had hyperinflation and all this stuff, a downturn in the economy, it typically takes about 2 years before you even start feeling better. And that kind of leads into the rest of our predictions.
The economic thing kind of ties into all of our predictions, because people are reacting to how bad things are. Mm-hmm. And you could see this with the cuts and with the canceled TV shows and movies that aren't doing as well as they should be in the box office.
Yeah. So that's as much as I can predict. That, like, buckle up, save your money, because
2023 is about pain.
Yeah, the next 2 years are going to be bad. So
pain.
Yeah. Next,
but we hope you can find a way to make it less painful and to make this a growth couple of years. So it's not all doom and gloom. But I was telling you, you kind of have to make your own happiness, your own meaning, your own entertainment, because, you know, Hollywood's not going to provide it for you. Neither are video games. And all of the streamers and YouTube people seem pretty depressed. And that's why, if they're not depressed, they're talking about mental health, helping your mental health and stuff.
I guess I'll share some advice, optimism at the end of this dreary prediction.
Not so soon.
Yes.
Not so soon.
Okay.
So let's talk about entertainment. I mean, we know a thing or two about entertainment, don't we?
Yes. So let's predict what's gonna be popular and happening, and what to expect in movies, TV shows, animation, and everything.
So I remember our last 2022 predictions for that year. We were really not optimistic about the state of Hollywood. We thought if you think back to the beginning of 2023, there's still a lot of people who weren't ready to go to the theaters. But we were kind of optimistic. We were hoping it wouldn't be that bad. And looking back at the year, it was pretty amazing. Like, honestly, it was pretty amazing to see what Top Gun did in America. Mm. It's kind of like it's what Top Gun did is kind of what I wish for a lot for this year. Mm-hmm. So I feel pleasantly just a little bit more optimistic. But for me, the only thing holding back that optimism are people's desires still to go to the theater. I still think there are a lot of people who would much rather watch a movie at home, much rather wait for it to get to streaming or Redbox or whatever it is. So there's still that uphill struggle. And looking at the catalog of what's about to come out this year, there's not a lot that's super promising, like Top Gun level, like smash hit in the domestic box office level excitement. I want to believe that Oppenheimer is going to be a special movie. I want to believe that Oppenheimer, like Cillian Murphy, will probably get that Oscar, and this might be Nolan's first Oscar, finally. Because I know the Academy loves bullshit like this. They love when people play real life people, and especially pieces like this, like The Bomb. And if they gave Rami Malek and everybody for Bohemian Rhapsody all those accolades, you'd think they'd give Oppenheimer something. I really have high hopes for Oppenheimer. I hope it's like the Top Gun of this year, that like us as Americans, not not China, not everybody else. Us as Americans can come together and watch this amazing piece of movie history, cinema history. But that's like my strongest point of optimism. You know, there's a few fanboy things that I like. I really like the Beast Wars trailer because that really tickles my like 90s heart, my 90s boy heart. But like, I am very cautiously, barely optimistic about stuff like Mario and a lot of other movies. But some of the, like, I call them like the JV movies. They're like the little movies with not big budgets. The Megans, the Gerard Butler's Plane, and the Scream Fives. They're not like Avatar, Top Gun level movies. But these movies I'm really excited for. And I enjoyed Megan for the very small $12 million movie that it is. And it's like, if we could just get to a place where these smaller movies are excite people, that would be really cool. But still, I'm not as optimistic as I wish I could be about the movie industry right now.
Yeah,
Oh, Mission Impossible 2, I forgot. Shit looks awesome.
Yes.
Shit looks fun. I forgot about that. That's another movie we could come together as a country. Not China, as a country. Oh.
I don't actually think, like, end of 2022, I was looking at the 2023 slate of movies, and I wasn't that excited. But when I watched Megan, I was like, this is a strong start. This is for a January movie where you told me that's the month where movies go to die.
Yeah, it usually is.
I was really surprised because Megan, those type of like B tier movies in cinema have been kind of awful during the past, I don't know, 5 to 10 years.
Yeah.
Like the, I don't know, Conjuring 5s and the Annabelles and the random comedy movies and whatever. Like those movies that don't have much of a marketing budget, they're just kind of there to give you a cheap thrill. That's what they are, cheap thrills. I never really have that much expectations for. If I have fun, that means that movie is good. The fact that Megan was so good for one of those movies, and it's like the first movie of the year technically, I felt really optimistic. But
like quadruple the money back. Like a lot, like my God, a lot of studios wishes they could do what Universal just did with Megan, man. That's really cool. Like people spend so much, these studios spend so much money on Puss in Boots and pray to God they at least break even, at least a little bit. But Megan, like on the first weekend, like tripled its money, and by the time you're seeing this podcast, probably quadrupled it. Oh my God, that's what we want to see in America, baby. Let's go.
Megan made all of its money back,
and then some
on the opening weekend.
On the Saturday, right? Something like that.
I think it's by Sunday.
Holy shit, man.
You can't say that about Avatar. I think that's very, very impressive for Megan to do that.
Yeah, man.
But I'm cautiously optimistic. Like there are a lot of upcoming movies that I'm excited to see in January and February, which is strange.
I think Cocaine Bear could have the same Megan effect.
Yeah.
Like what you want is like cheap movie, strong word of mouth, good time. That's it. Just three things. Mm-hmm. And I think Cocaine Bear could do that. But Megan is such a promising start of the year, and I hope a lot of the JV movies do this, because like I love seeing the big movies, but then like the little movies are great too. Like we love especially independent cinema too.
Yeah.
So good start.
Mm-hmm. All the horror trailers that played in front of Megan were really promising too. It's like our previous prediction that like horror, if we were Hollywood execs during hard times, horror and comedies all the way. None of this risky
Avatar bullshit.
Yeah, comic book $100 million budget stuff. And And it's happening. It's like, oh, you're finally giving some like no-name director some credit. You attach like a good producer onto it, and an executive producer that like really trusts their talent. Like Blumhouse, man. During COVID, we were watching a lot of stuff on Amazon, and we watched the Blumhouse anthology for first-time directors. So they were really investing in new directors during the pandemic, and I was like, oh, interesting. What's this? Since when does a studio do this? So I'm very cautiously optimistic, because I can't 100% be optimistic, because there aren't a lot of what I would call must-watch movies.
What are your most anticipated movies of 2023?
Definitely Oppenheimer and Mission Impossible are the two.
And you're not like, you and I aren't like the biggest Nolan fans, but what do you think is so great about Oppenheimer?
I think it's Nolan's first movie where he doesn't have like a gimmick, almost.
Even with Dunkirk, he had to mess with time.
Yeah. It feels just like a really try-hard movie without having like I don't know, science and all that stuff that he's really into. It's just like, I'm trying to just make a good movie with a good actor that I like.
And why are you excited for Mission Impossible? We're big fans of this franchise.
Both Mission Impossible and Oppenheimer, I'm excited because the effects are practical.
Mm-hmm.
The trailers look really good. I love Mission Impossible. You got me into it. I forgot when.
We were trying to finish the James Bond thing, and then after in preparation for Fallout, I think, we started watching all of the Mission Impossible movies, and we were like, these movies, they just get better and better. And the James Bond movies there's at least 3 that are good, and the rest are kind of poop.
Yeah. They're just there for this, what's it called? Historicness of it?
The tradition.
The tradition of it. I really like Mission Impossible. I like all the little inside franchise jokes, like when they like, you got it. We got it. We got it. Yeah.
I like the death-defying stunts, man. The stunts are insane.
I like Tom Cruise's run. He just has to run every time. Yeah, those are the two. I am not excited for any comic book movie. I don't even know off the top of my head.
Yeah, we're going to be reviewing a lot of movies, but we are staying away from the comic book movies.
Yeah, unless we really liked one or wanted to watch one, but otherwise, what am I gonna say? Oh, it's a paint by numbers comic book movie.
Yeah, there's the Ant-Man. You excited for this?
Oh no. No.
I like Evangeline Lilly. I just wish she did stuff that wasn't Lord of the Rings and Ant-Man.
So one of the things that I noticed when looking at the 2023 slate is, well, first of all, the first thing I noticed looking at the 2022 slate was there's nothing. There was nothing that came out this year. And
Last year?
Last year, sorry. I assumed, and it's highly likely, that the studios delayed putting out a lot of the pre-COVID movies that they basically had ready. They're just like finishing it up in post or doing the marketing for it. They put it off for some reason till 2023. And then when I looked at 2023, there are a lot more movies this year that are coming out, but it feels like they've delayed it again to put it out 2024. It's like the entirety of Hollywood is waiting for the economy to get better or something.
So like slow rolling their movies, basically. So
unfortunately this year it feels like a lot of the movies coming out are pre-COVID movies. And there's nothing wrong with that. It just, to me, when I watch movies that are obviously filmed
post-COVID?
Pre-COVID.
Oh, pre-COVID, yeah.
They feel dated. They feel like we were in a different time and place. Our entire lives, our worlds drastically changed in the past 2 years. And as a result, we have a completely different attitude towards media, movies, video games, everything. We aren't as happy as a society. And I think that it shows when you're watching older movies that were meant for like 2021, 2022, you know. Of the movies that felt like that last year, I didn't care for them. Then I was like, for example, like Halloween. It really seemed like such a...
It should have came out 2 or 3 years ago.
Like if it came out 2020, like early 2020 or 2019, it probably would have done fine. But then the fact that it came out last year, it just felt wrong. Like tonally, it just felt wrong. I also feel like enthusiasm for going to movies is pretty low. Do you think?
I think so too. That's why I want to be more optimistic, but the optimism doesn't depend on me. It depends on everybody else's want and desire to see these things in theaters. I worry that people are like sleeping on Megan or sleeping on the plane or sleeping on the JV movies, and they'll just wait for them for Redbox and streaming. But like these are the movies that help propel and make the bigger movies, you know. Mm-hmm. So like, and even with some of these bigger movies, like I hope you go out to see Beast Wars, Mario, and all the rest. But like that kind of depends on you and your desire. At this point, I don't think people are really worried about the virus. It's more about kind of ease, more about, do you want to be with people? Sometimes you're going to be with asshole peoples in theaters. Like that's just kind of how it is. And some people would rather just watch movies at home. So I love the movies. I will always go to the movies, but it's been a long time since I've been like elbow to elbow in a movie that like we're all just here to celebrate and watch. Even Top Gun wasn't really like that for us. There was like a lot of people, but then like for me, like I have memories of watching Skyfall and just the theater just being just full of people, or the first Avengers, obviously theaters just full of people. But until that happens, we're not going to see like 2019 returns. So I'm optimistic, but I'm also like, you know what? Movies weren't always that big. Mm-hmm. When we were growing up in high school, the Harry Potter movies would come out, but like every other movie, it would just be for the cinema people. And like, there's a lot of us, but like not like Frozen 2. There's not that many of us. So it just remains to be seen still if people give a shit about this medium anymore. So we'll see.
I think there's that. Like people have been kind of trained to watch, if it's not like a must-watch movie in theaters, like a big blockbuster you want to watch with an audience, that they'd rather just catch it on streaming. But I think it has more to do with lack of enthusiasm to go to the movies, period. And I think the past decade was ruled by comic book movies. So normal people like my friends, for example, who are not cinephiles at all, they don't work in Hollywood, they do not care about movies. They would not go and watch a movie like Megan, for example. They wouldn't even know...
What's that?
What is that? But those people came out to watch movies in the past 10 years. Every time a Marvel movie came out, because it was what everyone was talking about. You were a loser if you didn't go watch it. So in a way, the crazy hype around comic book movies became the sole reason people went to the movies. Because it's not like during that time that success rubbed off on the other movies that were not comic book movies, let's say. Like, I don't imagine just because my friends like to be in the know about Doctor Strange, even though they're not comic book fans, they're just, normies. They're not gonna go and watch like Insidious 3 like we did. Um, it's a all the other movies, all the other genres they didn't benefit from comic book movies. And now that I predict that comic book movies are slowly on their way out because the hype around them is slowly waning. I think people who like to show for Hollywood and to be like, oh, the big box office numbers are so big and so great. Like, well, yeah, if you had like a $300 million budget, the opening box office numbers better be great. It better be great proportionate to its budget.
The amount you spent, yeah.
But like when you see, for example, Black Panther 2 not make as much money as Black Panther 1, and like you see from like Doctor Strange to Thor to Black Panther, you can see the gradual fall off of interest and how badly people even want to go to see these movies. And the fact that it's kind of like Netflix had this like crazy upward trajectory. There was never a month or year where they didn't grow until finally they stopped growing and they plateaued and they started losing subscribers. And then suddenly their stocks dropped like crazy. People were like, oh no, is this the end of growth of streaming? Is it oversaturated now all of a sudden? I feel the same way about comic book movies. Yeah. It was this upward trajectory. It went up, and it like kind of hit its peak around like the Endgame, essentially. Yeah. And then Spider-Man, was there, still at the top. But as we're like coming around the top, we're starting to go downhill now, very gradually. It's not like it's going to crash immediately. Oh, it's going to flop. I don't think that. I think it's going to slowly peter out in interest. Fewer and fewer people are going to go and watch it. It's not going to feel like a must watch. So the box office isn't going to feel as like strong. And we've been saying this for a while now. You can't blame COVID anymore. You can't blame it, and for a very long time now. So now,
especially after Top Gun.
Yeah. So now, why aren't people going back to the theater? Other than there has to be other reasons. It has to be people don't like these movies, or maybe they've been trained to watch movies at home. Whatever reason you come up with is better than blaming it on people are still scared of the disease. So I think as a result of that, I don't think we're gonna go back to pre-comic book movie box office numbers. Before billion-dollar movies were like normal. Because I think there's just more people on this earth now. I think more people equals more money, inflation, all that stuff. But I think it's somewhere in between. Like, I think we shouldn't expect movies to make an enormous amount of money from now on, especially with the economy becoming really bad. And trying to recover from it. I think it's smart for entertainment to be focusing on making smaller budget movies because they're less risky, and you can invest in new IPs, new talent, and prepare for hopefully the latter half of this decade, where I expect a lot of the post-pandemic movies will start to come out. Things shot right now, for example.
Yeah, but things shot right now won't come until 2028.
Yeah, like 4 years from now. Yeah. So that's why, like, it seems like a lot of things are gonna start to get better after 2025, after the midway of this decade. Yeah. So that's like film, that's cinema, that's movies. What about TV and animation? What do you think?
I'm seeing a lot of canceled TV shows I've never heard of, but they're getting canceled, which means a lot of people that we know, a lot of our peers are out of work, and it's a really, really, really bad time to be in animation right now. I think my lucky star is that I'm still in it, but like, if you've been in it you know that, any day could be your last day, man. You don't know. Nobody knows. Some of these shows, I heard that they were promised by the network to have another season, but they were straight up like, sorry, we're going to pull the plug. Economy is really bad. People are not watching. I don't know. It's just not good. And I don't see it getting any better. I think if you are a network, especially in animation, you're going to find the animated shows that work, that are cheap, and that people watch, and you're going to keep those, and you are not going to invest in anything else. Because, like, for example, if you're Universal, what are you going to invest your money in? DreamWorks' Puss in Boots, Shrek 5, 8, 2024, or running Megan into the fucking ground? If I were Universal, I'd run Megan into the fucking ground. Like, to quadruple your money, like, in over the course of basically 2 weeks, that's what I want to see if I were a studio head. I don't want to cross my fingers and rely on the variety hopium train to, like, get people to watch my Puss in Boots CG animated, really expensive cartoon movie. Why would I do that when Megan only takes $12 million to make? Mm-hmm. And that's why we really, really predict that, like, horror movies and comedies are just the way, because it's like, if you think of this as a business, which nobody in film Twitter thinks about, if you think about this as like you're investing in talent, you're investing in a house. You're not in a B&B house. If you have one house that's just like poppin', it's this like 1-bedroom little thing, but like lots of people love going there because maybe the scenery is nice. I don't know. Or you have this mansion that nobody goes to because it's too expensive. You're gonna cut the mansion out of your, what is it? Your real estate? What you call that? Portfolio. It's the same for animation. So when we look at TV, it's like I really. I believe that the studio heads are really scrutinizing every single thing that they're putting out now, because things need to make money, and if they don't, they're useless to me.
Yeah. I saw this tweet. I don't remember from who, and I don't even remember when. It was a while ago. But this person was announcing that yet another show from Netflix was getting canceled after the first season. And the tweet went something along the lines of like, wow, look at Netflix not investing in TV shows past the first season and letting the voice and the show really develop its voice. Sure, the first season might not be great, but like, it takes shows a while to like get their footing. And dude,
the best shows are like good from the fucking get-go, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Arguably, to our viewing experience, I don't think there's a better season of The Sopranos than the first one. Would you agree with me?
Yes. The first one, so far, I think we're at the very last season.
The second half of the last season.
The first season is still the best. Yeah.
It's just outstanding. And it's just like how I was telling you, like, how would that work in a water cooler conversation? Oh, Jim, you gotta see this TV show, but you gotta stick to it after 24 episodes, 24 1-hour-long episodes, because it finally gets good in the 3rd or 4th season. It's like, no one wants to invest their fucking time in a show that takes 2 fucking seasons to get good.
Yeah.
And so... That is fucking ridiculous logic. I think.
I was kind of like
you took it in investment terms, that like,
yeah. I was just like, this is film Twitter, that like, if people complain that like, because we've worked in animation, that we don't have any real practical knowledge of what it means to work. Oh god, there's so much hoity-toityness with there's some live action people who like really look down on animation people.
Well, yeah, we know that.
But like, if you think that about people who've actually worked in Hollywood, no matter what, level they were in the totem pole, my god, film Twitter is like so
I see your point.
Annoying, because they
just don't understand.
They really don't understand.
They don't understand what it's like to get laid off, and for you to be like, but I put my heart and soul in this show.
No one cares.
No one gives a shit. Like, they want to make money. You want to be in a show that makes money. That's it. This is survival, man. Damn.
When I saw that tweet, I was like, imagine saying that to the person that invested millions of dollars to make whatever TV show that just got canceled. Imagine going up to that person and going, you should really wait. I know you just lost millions of dollars on the first season and no one watches it, but give it a chance. Put a few more $1 million into it to make a season 2,
and it will totally improve. Wrong. I'm like, you don't even know that.
For
How do you
the
even
art.
know that?
For the art for art's sake, am I right? And I'm just like, this is not how any of this works. So
Explain to them how it works, Janet. At least, just so they could understand. They won't listen, but for our sakes.
Someone with a lot of money wants to invest their money. And instead of investing in stocks, instead of investing in a house, instead of investing in gold, they decide to up the ante. The bigger the risk, the bigger the reward. So they go into Hollywood and they want to invest in movies because it's a business. The idea that a movie that you invest $12 million in can somehow make $100 million back. That is a really great investment with like maybe a 1 or 2 year turnaround. That's like crazy investment that you can't possibly get in real estate or in stocks. So they invest it into movies, into art, which is a classic rich person thing to do. Those people who give technically writers, directors, they give it to certain people, producers that they trust to make a movie. The producer has to convince this rich person to be like, I can totally 10x your money. Just give me a few $1 million and I will make a movie and you're gonna get like so much money back.
We're all gonna be so rich.
You don't have to do a thing. Just give me your money. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't because it's a huge risk. But at the end of the day, even though the directors and the writers and the laborers, the artists, do it because they love making money doing what they love, technically, at the end of the day, we all serve that executive producer who spent millions of dollars just so that they can make money. To pretend like this business is anything but that is ridiculous. But that's why we have trades. That's why we have the Hollywood hopium machine. That's why we have, at this point, I've noticed a lot of film Twitter shills that all they do is like farm likes and retweets to their blog so that they can make a little bit of money off of someone else's art, someone else's investment.
And as Chazelle's screenplay goes, cockroaches.
Yes,
basically.
Exactly. So that's how it works. This should be obvious. This isn't like how any business works. It's just people are so deceived by the illusion that is Hollywood because they're very, very good at storytelling and selling you hopes and dreams and all that stuff, all that good stuff that people think it's art for art's sake. MGM's motto, apparently.
Do you have any other predictions for TV and animation? Do you ever feel like it's time for a change, but you just can't muster up the ganas to change? Well, it's the new year, and it's the new you, and guess what? There's Coffee Brand Coffee to help you propel your way to the new you.
If you would like 5% off your entire order, enter code honeyandabsinthe at checkout, link down below. Enjoy your coffee.
Enjoy your coffee, enema babies.
There will be fewer options. Well, every single time I find out something is canceled, either through you or through Twitter, I go like, cool, I didn't even know what that was. So that makes sense that was canceled, because clearly if it was something worth knowing about, for example, like The Boys TV show or like good TV shows, I'd probably hear about it. There'd be rave reviews. Like I've heard about Wednesday. I would have never heard about Wednesday if people weren't raving about it. Mm-hmm. So clearly, like, these shows were never meant to live past the first season, especially during a bad economy. Unfortunately, there is a pyramid of importance in Hollywood. First being blockbuster movies, then being like, I would say Oscar bait movies, and then like the like B movies, like
JV movies.
Yeah, low budget but tends to make lots of money back. And then there's like TV, and then there's animation. And when you look at that totem pole, that like pyramid of importance that people put upon like different creative endeavors in Hollywood, typically the lowest of the totem pole gets cut and it just slowly
works its way up.
Yeah.
Right.
So it makes sense that like unfortunately animation and TV is going to suffer the most right now. And there hasn't been anything good in a really long time. Watching The Sopranos again, I was like, man,
they don't make TV like that anymore.
No.
It's so good. So good.
Closest thing I've watched recently is The Boys.
Oh yeah. So good. Okay, so good.
And outside of that, anime.
So what do you think about anime this year?
I think anime is really unpredictable. The year to year, it's hard to predict. So like when we were in college, anime was really bad. Some people love that era of like Sword Art Online.
No. Oh no.
But for me,
in all my years, that's my least favorite year of all time, man.
Yeah.
Oy, that's not a good era.
But as we were doing a lot of fan art and getting into the convention scene, we were lucky. Anime got really good.
Yeah, it was a renaissance with One Punch Man and Attack on Titan, Mob Psycho, all that stuff. And I think it's continuing. We went to see a movie and there was like a One Piece movie playing and there were tons of kids cosplaying and all that stuff, getting their weave on, trying to watch the movie, and I'm like, what? This is a small town. Where are the weaves? Every so often we see a car with one of those weave stickers with a girl or whatever, anime eyes or whatever, and I'm just like, whoa, there's weaves in Prescott? Where are they? Where do they congregate?
There are a lot. I want to find them.
Let's find them, man.
And hang out with them. But like, weebs don't go outside. Yeah. So I can't befriend them. Anime, I hope and I predict that it's going to continue to be really good. There's no signs that it's not going to, like, Spy Family, still very good.
There's going to be a Spy Family movie, I think, or some shit like that.
Chainsaw Man's going through its issues, but so far it's been good.
I honestly am not a fan.
People have been starting to get into Blue Lock.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Dude, Blue Lock's so dope. If you love anime, watch Blue Lock. I was telling my brother about it. It's like this strange anime that's about teamwork, but not about teamwork.
Yeah, so it's a sports anime that's not
about teamwork. And I'm just like, interesting. It's about ego. Lots of ego.
Competitiveness.
Like, Blue Lock reminds me of my experience in college. That's why I like it so much.
Yeah.
People are liking that show.
Yeah.
I was like, why don't people are sleeping on this show, man? Yeah. This is pretty good. But yeah, Spy Family is like, it's amazing.
It's the anime.
It's the anime right now, in my opinion. Like, people, I mean, like, meme-wise, Chainsaw Man is kind of a juggernaut. But like, I'm talking about quality anime. Spy Family is where it's at, man. That Yor? Janet looks like Yor.
I think anime is going to eat animation's lunch for a very long time to come.
For the rest of the decade. You predicted in 2022. Do you continue to predict that in 2023?
Yeah. Unfortunately, because we are now a more global society, especially with streaming, it's become a lot easier. I feel like before, back when we were little kids, we had to wait for like the DVDs to come out or to like pirate it in like Chinatown or something. But or like somehow find it on the internet with bad
subtitles.
subs.
Yeah.
But now
Kids are lucky, man.
Yeah.
You kids are so goddamn lucky, man.
now you get simulcast. Like you can.
Oh my god, what I do to have that when I was a kid growing up. Oh my
Yeah.
god. Yeah, and it's funny that like we're watching Puss in Boots and there's so much anime in that movie, but they take the wrong things. They take the showy. They think we watch anime because of the showiness and all that stuff. We watch anime because a lot of the time it's very thoughtful. It's very like, you know, meditative sometimes about the human experience, condition, loneliness, Evangelion, but with Spy Family, the family dynamic with Chainsaw Man, titties, you know, like it's really deep. Okay? It's not just the woo wah wah thing. It's like it's the characters. It's the character driven stuff, and like, you know, old Pixar movies used to do this, old DreamWorks movies used to do this, but it's funny seeing the animation community, American animation community, completely take the wrong thing from anime. It's not the flashy animation, guys. It's the stories, it's the characters, it's the character arcs. Like One Piece arcs are insane. They're like, but like you don't see that in animation, in our animation anymore, at least.
I definitely predict more of a global playing field, I think. Animation has always been done better, in my opinion, overseas. not here in America.
We used to be great at storytelling.
Yes,
that
but
was
it's
our
very
strong suit.
like an American kind of aesthetic way of telling a story.
Not like psychological breakdown like Evangelion.
Yes. There's so much more variety in other countries' animation that I find a lot more interesting as an adult, especially compared to like, you know, movies here. Animated movies have always been for kids. That's how you sell it to investors. It's always like investors straight up go, did my kid like it? Okay, I'll invest. Okay, I'll vote for it in the Academy. That's the extent of how much they care about animation here in the United States.
Oh, but Del Toro is talking about how the Academy should take it more seriously.
In my older age, if you can change things about an industry, good for you. But to think that you can, that's a mighty big ego. One shouldn't set out to have that as a goal because it's not really up to you.
It's up to the audience.
Yeah. So yeah, that's all I'm gonna say about that. So I think because people are getting into K-dramas, they're getting into Taiwanese dramas, they're getting into Japanese dramas, they're not just like anime. People are getting into things like Love Island, a British reality TV show. I think global TV in general has a global audience now with things like Netflix. So that's where I don't know anyone who has cable. I know people are watching TV through streaming services now. And when you can access all the world's entertainment online, then what's stopping you from getting really into something like Squid Game or anime, for example? Yeah. So unfortunately, not only is the competition really high now with TV, animation, and TV in general, therefore your stuff better be good in the first season and be like Spy Family caliber good. Otherwise, you are competing with
Spy Family.
Yeah,
all the people in DreamWorks TV, Netflix, animation, every Nickelodeon, you're competing with Spy Family, and Spy Family is so good.
Yes.
It's so good. None of you are making something that good. I promise you. I promise you, you're not.
If you are, then good for you. You'll probably be successful. But if
No, you're not though. I would have heard about it. We would have watched it by now.
But if you're not making something at least that caliber of entertainment, then of course they're gonna get canceled after the first season because Netflix would rather just license Spy Family or the equivalent. It's easier.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have to produce it and spend millions of dollars just for each episode. So that's my prediction. Get good.
Get good.
Essentially.
And not just the ness of it, it's the writing, it's the characters.
Okay, so now that we had our long rant about entertainment, let's talk about culture.
So culture is the broad sense of the human condition and where we're moving and why we do make the entertainment that we make, you know, or why we don't. So what do you think about culture? We suggested there's going to be a lot of pain. How is that going to affect culture?
What I've been noticing from all of social media in general is that there's a lot of talk about mental health lately. Either people complaining about their mental health, saying that they're really lonely or depressed, or people trying their best to cope with their loneliness and their depression by focusing on their mental health and getting their life together. Trying their best to have a cozy home or stuff like that. And I was wondering why, and I think it really has to do with the economy. I think when times are tough economically, it trickles down to all aspects of your life. So if you can't get a job, or you are forced to keep a job you hate because it's hard to get another job, or the job's not paying you enough, and on top, because of those things, you can't afford the things that you like, or maybe you can't afford eating out as much, or maybe you can't even afford basic necessities like putting food on the table. So not only do you have your full-time job that you hate, you're also taking up a part-time job. And now you're just upset. Everyone, like, you can see how, like, let's say you're a parent or a childless millennial. When you're in this situation and you're this upset, you're probably treating everyone in your life pretty badly, or you're walking around angry and yelling at people who, I don't know, every little thing ticks you off. So I really think a bad economy makes like our entire society really unhappy. And I think a good economy makes people really, really, really happy. Like, I think 2019 and earlier, I think people were like high off life. When you think about those times compared to now, oh my God, people were so happy in comparison.
Yeah, I feel like that's why people are so depressed, because they have this, they could always look back to this point in time where things were so great in 2019. I had a job, animation industry was booming, everyone had jobs, and now everyone's losing jobs, and the gas is really high, and the price of eggs is really enormously high, and everything's just so bad. And it's sort of, we gotta remember things weren't always that great, like 2019 great. Like when we were in college, the economy wasn't that great, and like there are good times and there are bad times. It's just a lot of us are new adults now, and this is our turn dealing with economic hardship, right? So it's really, I'm sure it's really tough for a lot of people, but I always tell myself, like, this is the condition of living in America, living life. There's like, there's ups and there's downs, and like there's periods in your life where you're going to have a job and things are going to be honky-dory, and there's going to be periods in your life where you're going to be fighting for a job. And but I think what a lot of people are succumbing to is just like, why aren't things like they were before?
Right. I have also noticed for a really long time, ever since I started paying attention to Gen Z, that they are a very depressive generation. So, like, for example, the first time I really started paying attention to Gen Z was their music, because I'm someone that lived under a rock with really basic music tastes for a really long time, until you introduced me to things I should have listened to as a teenager, like Arctic Monkeys, Radiohead, stuff like that. And then I started acquiring a taste that isn't just pop and K-pop. I noticed sad rap was becoming a thing. Sad rap and mumble rap, where I forget that one rapper who basically raps about their mental illness, mental health issues. But that became a thing where people were like singing about Xanax and mumbling how sad and depressed they are. Whereas like the way we grew up, the kind of rap we grew up was like gangsta rap,
bringing in the Benjamins and the snow and like being rich and wealthy,
or how hard we used to be in the life. And I was just like, what is this sensitive rap music where you're like talking about how
the emo rap?
The
emo ethos.
And then I noticed the sense of humor next was just really kind of dark and really like most jokes are self-deprecating, but Gen Z kind of takes it to the next level. They love joking about their mental illness, and they love joking about how do I say this without getting
offing themselves.
Yes, they like to self-delete. Or they have thoughts of self-deletion. And they joke about that very flippantly. And so I saw this TikTok, I think from a millennial actually, who studied to become a psychologist, and was talking about how he doesn't like that this generation flippantly jokes about self-deletion, because it's actually a fact that the more you kind of like, what's the word, like generalize it, the more you talk,
expose it,
the more you talk about it.
Oh yes, okay.
Especially in that joking manner, the more you'll be thinking about it. And recently there have been really record high jumps in the amount of people who have been self-deleting in that age group too. And I feel like that can't be healthy, to constantly be joking about your mental health and how you're not okay and how you want to self-delete. And even though it's a joke, I don't know,
it's one of those jokes that like you're joking, but are you really joking?
Yeah.
Seek help and call those hotlines. That's not something to be joking about.
Yeah, like sure, you'll get lots of laughs and lots of
I don't know
likes.
I saw one of like this dude like pretending to drink Clorox and then pretending to jump off the thing, and it's one of those things where you're supposed to hashtag mood and stuff, and I go like, I don't know, man. I don't know. This it's
dark.
It's dark. It's really dark.
So that clearly is like where culturally we're at. Another thing is, I think I've been thinking about this for a while. Emma Chamberlain probably said it the best first, but she was talking about how there aren't any trends these days. Like back when we were younger, there were trends, or skinny jeans, a skinny tie, different types of fashion trends, the trend of like everyone saying YOLO or doing the Soldier Boy dance or whatever.
What is that? The
Gangnam Style?
I think Filthy Frank started it.
Oh, Harlem Shake?
Yeah, Harlem Shake. That one was pretty big.
That lasts for a
while. For
like
almost the entire year.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Trends just don't last that long anymore.
No, yeah, we're not coming together as a culture on anything anymore. It's the same with TV. What's the last TV show I guess Game of Thrones, but then that really ended poorly. We're not together in agreement on anything, and we feel so disjointed, and that just means that like people are either in their own little tiny tribes or they're just straight up by themselves lonely.
Yeah. So not only are people depressed, they're also hyper lonely because there's no real way to connect with each other like we used to. No TV show, no movie, no trend, no whatever.
Yeah, we just sit around and talk about Breaking Bad or the good times for Walking Dead and Game of Thrones, but like we don't do that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Even with the only thing that we kind of do that for these days is anime. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like all the weebs can come together and talk about Chainsaw Man, but then and come together, but then everything else, not really, not so much.
So that's my prediction, that this loneliness, this depression is going to last as long as the economy is bad. And
so it's literally a depression, you think?
I think so. I'm sure we were kind of too young to really know because we weren't working yet. But I mean, as millennials, we were very optimistic kids. But I assume people who truly experienced the brunt of the housing crash of 2008 probably felt the same way. So I for whatever, I don't understand why young people are depressed, because we weren't.
we were going through hard times too. Is it the COVID, you guys? Like, what is it?
Maybe it's just the generation.
Yeah.
That's because, like, I've noticed that ever since the mumble rap stuff, it hasn't stopped. The
depressiveness.
The depressive music. Now there's, like, pop music that's optimistic about recovering from being sad.
Okay.
Like, for example, most of Ty Verdes' music.
Oh, yes. I see what you mean.
Like, I'm sad, but it's okay.
I'm working on getting better.
Yes.
Everything's going to be A-okay, buddy.
Yes.
That type of thing.
It's not currently.
No.
But it's gonna be.
So,
I don't know. You, the audience, the people living on this earth right now, existing, are going to have to find a way to keep yourself sane. Which I guess brings us to our resolutions for this year. My resolution for this year is to be as productive as possible. With a caveat.
You're already so productive. What are you talking about?
Not really. So, like, ever since my, like, quarter life crisis, I've been trying to find myself. And I feel like I finally found myself. And my goal this year is to be productive, but not in the same way I was in my 20s. My 20s was about, like, hustling, getting into Hollywood, working so that I can become successful.
It's all about that ego, baby.
Yeah. Both monetarily and, like, status-wise, I guess. None of it really was for myself. It was for other people. It was to prove to other people that I could do it. It was so that I would stop living in fear that I was going to end up homeless somehow as an artist. And as a result of that, I felt like I wasted my 20s not really living. Because, like, we come here and then I see people who maybe not as accomplished as we are, career-wise, but to me, I feel like they've accomplished more in their life than I have, and they're most likely younger than me. They've been to more countries. They've simply experienced more things because they weren't head down
focusing on their career.
Yeah. And in such a very, like, narrow kind of way. So my 20s, if I look back on it, I was just working. That's all I did. I didn't do anything of note. I can't write a book, for example, about my 20s.
That you worked at Disney?
No, I'm not. And, like, other people, when they realize that I have, they are very impressed. But I'm just like, I don't like that personally. I look back on that and I go like, 10 years down the drain. So what I mean by how I want to be as productive as possible this year is I want to do things for myself. And I want to do a lot of things for myself. I feel like, unfortunately, the pandemic really put a stop to a lot of that. Because I technically wanted to do a lot of that around right when the pandemic started. But when it started, like, it threw everyone's entire lives out the window, to the point where, like, people didn't even really start making movies again until, like, recently. So, like, I shouldn't blame myself for, like, becoming very distracted and literally incapable of just, like, progressing in life, because everything just came to a stop.
Nobody progressed.
The past 2 years just blipped away.
Yeah.
So I want to focus on creating creative things for myself, things that really make me feel joy, and not, like, go at, like, find some semblance of balance, work on my passions, but also rest and, like, do things that I can remember in my next decade of life, or, like, when I'm old, I can, like, share stories about things I did. Instead, like, I can be like, in my 20s, I just worked. I worked day and I worked nights, and I didn't do anything. I didn't go anywhere. There's no stories to tell. So that's one of the things. I'm going to focus on my health. I've been saying this. I've been trying to get my goal body. And then the gyms closed down. And then we had to wear masks at the gym. And I was just like, no, I refuse. I'm going to, like, run around outside getting a very piss poor workout. But now, this is the year, you guys. Finally. Like, 3 years later, this is the year. God damn it. And then I want to read and I want to write a lot more.
We're gonna watch less movies? What?
I want to watch a lot of movies too.
Yeah, but I feel like all we used to do after work was just watch the Criterion Channel. But now we've made it, like, let's see, how many days have we been into this year already? Almost like 14 days, right? Almost 2 weeks now. And we started to read almost every evening now. Mm-hmm. After 7 o'clock, I light up a candle, and we just read. I've been reading on the road.
It's
the beatnik life is just not for me, because it reminds me of Silver Lakeans. And I am not fond of Silver Lakeans, and I am not fond of over-romanticizing the transient nature of your life. But it is pretty cool to hang around with this Sal dude and just go on a cross-country trip. So that's kind of cool. Really looking forward to reading my next book, which might be Don Quixote. We didn't do this because of Lex Friedman. Lex Friedman basically copied us. No, he didn't. But, like, it's a coincidence. I swear to God. We're not doing this because of Lex. Lex does have a pretty cool list of books that I've read half of them.
Both of us have always loved reading and writing growing up. Yeah. It's just art kind of took a forefront.
We're just really creative people.
Yeah.
We wrote, we drew, we read.
Played music.
Yeah.
I did dance. Like, my best friend called me a muse growing up because I literally gravitated to everything creative. But I don't like reading for the sake of reading, though. Like, I feel like a lot of people really like reading just to say that they're well read. They've read this classic or all these books.
Oh, yeah. I was telling you, I hate the speed reading community. You need to savor words, man, like a fine wine. When Kerouac's writing these words, you have to feel them. You have to like read them and just really feel like Kerouac's right there telling you all of these ridiculous adventures with Dean. Like, I don't like that people just skim through. I couldn't imagine. It's like watching Taxi Driver on, like, 2.0 speed. Like, what's wrong with you? You savor these things, man. People like really took the time to write each word, you know? I don't like that philosophy for reading. I think reading should be just like this thing that you really enjoy, just visualizing everything too.
Yeah. I like reading and then writing, because something about reading someone else's voice, and I don't really like reading modern books, because a lot of, like, pop, I don't know, what do you call it, pop books? Popular culture books.
Like, Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck is sort of like a YouTube video.
Yes.
But then like you read a book I would say anything from 70s and below, it's people just had a way about them when they wrote. And it doesn't feel like, internet bloggy. It doesn't feel, it just feels like people were well read and really had something to say.
A lot of the books I've been reading lately, I don't even like a lot of them. But like I understand these writers are really, really good at writing. And there's a lot to learn from them. And it's nice to hear a perspective outside of your own, even if it drives you crazy.
What are you reading right now?
I am reading Canary Row.
Oh.
I am also reading Walden still. And I'm reading Eat, Pray, Love. I hate like all three of the books. I like Canary Row a lot, but I do think those three writers are actually very, very good. And the reason why I like to read is because I like to write afterwards, and it helps you write better, to be able to hear other people's voices and the way they describe things. You realize how uncreative you are actually with the way you're describing a certain thing
and the way you're seeing the world too, especially when you're reading something like from Steinbeck or something.
It challenges you to write better and to tell better stories. And the more I'm writing every day, the more I'm realizing like, oh, this is a muscle I haven't flexed in a really long time, but it's really important because this informs everything. It informs filmmaking, it informs art making, any form of storytelling. You have to be a really good writer. And I think the best people on YouTube, the best speakers, they are great writers. I think Gary Vee probably isn't a really good writer, but I think if someone just followed him around with like as he dictated, as he like just spouted all,
if you were to transcribe everything he said.
Literally word for word, it would make a great book because he has an interesting way of saying things. And I think writing is just storytelling, but in word form. I don't know, there's something about it that I feel like is going to unlock a new, I don't know, more interesting stories that I will want to tell one day in the form of filmmaking. And it starts with writing. And I would hear people like Tarantino and people with like really regimented schedules around their writing when like I go like, well, I'm an artist, I want to draw, I want to like just take a camera everywhere and just do the thing. But no, it pays to be thoughtful, like really, really thoughtful. And finally, I want to save a lot of money this year. Like, I'm going to take Gary Vee's advice seriously, every finance person's advice seriously, and save every goddamn penny I can. I'm going to go all the way. Except for going out to see movies. That's
we can't live without that. Yeah. We wanted to not watch movies, but then we got addicted to reviewing these movies. And now I just can't stop. I mean, I'm stopping for a little bit, but like I'm excited to review Knock at the Cabin, Oppenheimer, Mission Impossible, not Bumblebee, what you call that? The Beast Wars movie. So that's really exciting.
What are your New Year's resolutions?
New Year's resolutions. First, let's travel. Just like Halloween episode, into Vincent's adventures in hypochondria. So, remember when I got sick, that episode, we were talking mad shit about Tim Pool. What I did to get better was I had to sit up, and all of the gunk in my throat, or wherever the fuck it was, would just finally just go down. But the problem was, I did this for 5 days straight. And I was basically in my bed, just like sitting this up straight and then just lying down and falling asleep, just like that. And what I didn't know what was happening was I was spending all night sitting on my ass sleeping. Then I'd wake up, go to work, and sit on my ass working. And then the evenings, I'd sit on this couch, sit on my ass, and level up all the guns I have in Modern Warfare. And what started to happen was like a little bit before we watched Avatar, I started feeling like this sharp pain from my taint going up into like the side of my thigh and into my waist. And I was like, what the hell is this? And then I remember watching Avatar, and like not only was that movie just like excruciatingly long, but I was feeling like these mad lightning strobes in my pelvis, and then sometimes shooting down into my knee and down into especially my left leg, down to my foot. And I was like, what the fuck is wrong with me? And I remember we were trying to draw at the Raven, and I was telling you, like, we need to go home, something's really, really wrong. And that's when it was really bad. Like I felt like this like electric shock jolt just radiating around my pelvis areas, from like my ass to my waist to like down to my crotch. And it was just the most alarming thing I have ever gone through, because I previously, before I was 30, I was a young man. I didn't have to worry about like body problems, body issues. I abused my body. I fell off my skateboard and almost broke my arm. Had many cuts and bruises, bumped my head. I'm still fine, but like to feel these feelings of like my body doing things that like I can't explain. I don't know why it's doing it, and these like pains would come like sporadically. I couldn't control it too. So then I started to become really, really worried. And then I tried my best to like slowly kind of assess the situation and realize that like, okay, first of all, if I have heat in any of these areas, that helps a lot. So like one by one, I started to figure out like what was starting to help me. And then I started looking up symptoms, which is always like, when you have issues like me, you really shouldn't do. But like I basically self-diagnosed myself. I'm pretty sure it's called sciatica. Mm-hmm. Sciatica. And it's this like a nervous system problem where like you feel essentially everything I described. So ever since, and this has been going on for almost 3 weeks now, you have been helping me with stretches and yoga, and I've been getting into breathing techniques and all of that, but which have been helping immensely, to the point where like all it feels now are just like little elves pinching my ass or my foot sometimes. They go like, fuck you, and like they like kind of like pinch me in the butt. But like before, it was painful. I was like, what is happening to me? And like obviously with how illness obsessed I am, I thought it was cancer. First I checked my balls in the shower, and I'm like, where are the lumps? Why is this happening to me? And then because we've been watching Sopranos the whole time, so lately I bought this pillow that has my knees elevated upright, so I basically sleep like this now. Which helps so much. Like, oh my God, it helps so much. But lately, my neck ends up being strained because like I fall asleep like that. But like because we were watching The Sopranos, and I would just lay there with like a hot mat under my ass. We would, as we go towards the end of the show, everybody starts dying from some sort of rectal cancer. And then I was like, oh shit, maybe that's what I have. So like for the past 2 weeks after that, I started documenting all of my shits. Like, I'm sorry, TMI. Sorry if you're eating. Sorry. But like the color, everything. like the texture, everything. And like it came to a point where I kind of upset, like kind of like, this is like, I don't want to live like this, like I don't want to keep worrying about my body. I don't want to keep like I would constantly fight the whole existential dread thing of like, oh, I'm getting older, my body isn't doing the young man things it used to. Like there are aches and pains, and this is just the human condition I have to deal with. And I would waffle between becoming really upset and then really kind of depressed about like, obviously catastrophizing and going like, oh, the end is near. The end is like, has never been more near. And then I think I think last week I told you, especially after doing all of these like wellness exercises, going to the gym, really like focusing on like extending and stretching these muscles and these veins, I kept going like, I don't want to live in fear anymore. I lived in fear all of my life. Little kid, worried about death. Little kid, worried about my report card and like how my parents are going to react. Little kid, worried about like just worry after worry. And like, I kept thinking that like, okay, so like, let's say death is coming. Let's just say like let's just deal with it. Like, I'm an adult now. I have like aches and pains as adults do, like get as they get older. I don't want to continue being anxious for the rest of my life. I want to be able to just like say it is what it is and whatever happens, happens. And that's really hard for me to like accept, but I really want to cut my anxieties out like it's some sort of illness. Like, I really can't, I don't want to live past 30 with anxieties and worries about like, you know, my common worries are like the future. Like, well, I want to make enough money and have houses to secure for our future. I want to now I really all of a sudden care about my health, which I never gave a shit about until now. I never cared about my health. I didn't mind drinking, smoking, whatever. Like, I wanted to just like, you know, enjoy what I thought was enjoying life. But now I'm like, oh shit. So this is about longevity now, and I need to start taking care of myself. And then I was thinking, like I said in the Halloween podcast, that like, if there's one drug that I can't quit, it's stressing. It's being an anxious person, because I kind of just built it into my character. It's helped me get a job. It's helped me like do all of these things. Like, I'm the type of person who is so anxious that I'm going to prepare as much as I could possibly prepare for anything. And you know, the problem with that as you get older is that like, you can't prepare for, you know, body things. And in the sciatica thing, it's like, you know, you read up on it. It's like, people are diagnosed with that like 3 million times per year. It's a very common problem, but it's sort of like in the Willy Wonka thing, in Tim Burton's Willy Wonka, when he sees a white hair. And he's like, holy shit. You know what I mean? It was that moment for me. It was like, oh, mortality. Right. Yes. One day I will cease to exist in this earth. And that will be the end of that. And like, I knew that before, and which is why I do all sorts of creative things, because it makes my life fulfilling, and I consume the things that I create, and I really am like just juiced up and happy that like I live to make this thing or that thing. But now it's more like, it's still going to be that, but it's going to be like, every time I worry, I need to just accept that like things will happen, and like life happens, and like you have to adapt. And it's strange, because when I was a young person, I did live by whatever happens, but in a very reckless young person way. And then as I got older, I graduated college, I started getting a job, I got married, bought my house, all that stuff. Like, I would just be filled with worries of like, what if we lose the house? What if blah blah blah? What if this and what if this and that? And then I just kind of stopped living by the whatever happens philosophy, and just kind of worrying and being anxious about like, oh, am I going to lose my job tomorrow? Is everything going to be okay? And I just don't want to live like that anymore. And like, ultimately it comes down to, I believe, my relationship with death. I think like, it's always been something I've been afraid of, which is again why I do all the creative things I do. But it's lately I've been thinking about death a lot again, as I usually do. And I have come to the conclusion that like there is nothing I can do about it. I would worry about all these symptoms, right? And I check them all, and it's like, you know, I could get stung by a by a scorpion tomorrow, or a snake, get hit by a car, get stabbed while I'm putting gas in my car. Like, there's a million trillion ways that my life could end, and it's not something I should be too concerned about. It's not something that I should be obsessed about. It's something I should accept, and when the end happens, it happens. And that's really hard. That's really, really hard for somebody like me to say. But like, it's something that I've been trying to like accept now that I'm 30, that like, okay, like realistically, this isn't my fear speaking now. I should have a long time ahead of me. Like a long time ahead of me. But my need to catastrophize everything always makes it so that the end always feels near. So this year, I am going to do everything I can to manage, not just manage, but I really want to be a different person when it comes to my anxiety. I want to like not be such a worrywart. I need to just like accept the way life is, and the beauty the beauty of uncertainty. And I'm going to do that by having a very strong routine, by cutting out a lot of the vices in my life. I'm not saying I'm not going to do them completely, like forever, but like I will try my best not to use vices to cope with life, which is what I have been doing for the longest time, and instead replace them with good exercise, stretching every evening, reading every evening. What's the other thing I do? Oh, breathing exercises, but also I love to take breaks now. I take these 16-minute long breathing meditation. Breathing, I like that too. Breathing meditation things that I do in between work that really help me kind of not feel so upset, about everything. And cold showers are fun. Can't do them all the time, but man, when I do, it's like I drank like the best kind of coffee that doesn't make me sluggish. So like all that hooey stuff about cold showers, really good for you, man. I really think cold showers is like revelatory shit. Like aside, one of the biggest people on YouTube who does guitar stuff, Justin Guitar, recently talked about his how he's living a good life, and he's like doing Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and he's doing a lot of meditation like I am, but he like swears by the cold showers to the point where he has this like tank that he dips himself like an Oreo cookie like in, and then he goes whoo! And it's like, man, I tell you what, man, like those cold showers, man, they really lift up your mood. I don't know what it is. So I'm going to desperately do as much as I can to manage my anxiety and not be so fearful of every little thing, to accept that I can prepare for what I can prepare for, but what I can't prepare for will inevitably come, and I'm just gonna have to go with the flow, and to not live in fear. And I think two interesting things happened yesterday. One of the eldest neighbors in our neighborhood came to Janet and sang a song and basically gave us a holiday cake. But then she said something like to you, like, "Oh, my sciatica's acting up." And then you said something like, "Oh, I just better give it up." And then and I was like, "What do you mean? What did she mean by like giving it up?" And then you said something like, "Oh, I think it means something like you give it up to kind of the other people in the world who are suffering." And then I was thinking about that, because I was also thinking about like, stop being such a bitch. This is a common thing that most people have. Stop being a bitch. You don't know how many young kids are dying from cancer, like, and they're suffering. So deal with your fucking suffering. But that's such a more pleasant, nice way of thinking that, like, yes, everyone suffers. Everyone has problems. Everyone, like, especially as they get older, has these body issues. But then this neighbor of ours is like well into their 80s, almost 90s, I think. and they're still hobbling up and down the hill, and like they're doing fine. And like, it was, I don't know, it was for some strange reason when you told me that, I welled up with emotion, thinking that like, oh, like, that's so serendipitous and crazy that like our neighbor mentioned their sciatica problems, and I'm like just really concerned about it. But then it's just like, this person has been around 3 times longer than I've been around. They're dealing with it, so I must be able to deal with it too. And then the other thing was Jeff Beck dying yesterday, or at least the announcement, and me going like, Jesus Christ, like 78 is like, I thought people are supposed to live till 90 these days, and like to hear that Jeff, who was apparently a health nut, he was a vegetarian, he ate clean, and all that stuff, just died from a fluke thing, meningitis. I'm not a doctor, but it's like this, like, luck of the draw, just bad luck thing. Like it had nothing to do with COVID. It had nothing to do with any of the things that you think you're assuming right now. It's purely just like act of God shit. And then I just went like, but then for 78 years old, he lived as best of a life that he could. There's very few guitarists who are that influential. I could only think of Eric Clapton and Buddy Guy. Eric Clapton is a year younger than Jeff Beck, and Buddy Guy's like 86, who's almost 10 years older than Jeff Beck. So like, you just don't know. You just don't know. But what you can control is what you do with your life. What you can control is like how you don't throw your life away, and how you do good stuff with it, inspiring stuff. But fuck everybody else. Do what's good for you. And I am going to do what's good for me. And I am going to find, by the end of this year, a life where I don't have to worry about every little thing.
Yeah, because as your partner, I will say your anxiety is not normal. Uh-oh. It's a little, I wouldn't say it's extreme, but it's getting there.
Oh, yeah.
So,
especially towards the end of the year there. Oh my God. I was like, Janet, I have this illness. And then like the next day I'm like, Janet, I have this illness.
The fact that I have to be like your therapy dog, essentially, and just like help you get over, like, you don't have panic attacks. That's a plus. But like, you do panic.
Yeah.
And so like, I would say at first I thought you were just an anxious person. When you have to go outside to talk to people, you...
I don't want to talk to people, man. Oh my God.
You come across to other people really charming, really outgoing, like you're really carefree. But you're actually the complete opposite of that right before you have to talk to them. So like,
I have to like think about all the things I need to say. I have to think about like what they could say, and then and funny, what are funny stories, all those things.
Yeah, so like we literally, to make you feel in control, we have a control issue. To make you feel like you're in control, we have to have these long conversations about if that person says this, we say this. Yeah. And if they say that, we say this. And okay, that's normal in certain situations, but it's not normal, for example, when you just need to go get coffee. And you might have to talk to the barista.
Oh, no.
Or what if, for example, when you first move to a place, you're supposed to like say hi to your neighbors and introduce yourself. Oh my God, the anxiety that you had.
Oh my God, I was like, we need to prepare a script. This is what you're going to say. This is what I'm going to say.
I was like, I just want to like give them a card and say hi. We're your new neighbors. You're like, no,
that's rude.
You can't do that.
You just do that.
So those are like some small examples, but like it's everything. It's all aspects of your life that you have to like control. Every little thing. And if things don't go to plan, you have mini freakouts. So at first, like, it wasn't very bad. In the first, like, I want to say, like, 6 years of being together. But in this latter half, as you approach 30, it got worse and worse, and your hypochondria developing was like, oh my god, this is definitely a problem now. That, like, I think, because, like, for me, I'm the complete opposite.
I don't know how Janet lives her life.
I am very carefree. I just go with the flow. This is why I love traveling. I just, like, when bad things happen, I see it as an opportunity for an adventure.
And I go, like, how the fuck do you live like this? Like, Jesus Christ. This dude just tells you to go all the way to Alabama. You're just going to go. Yep. And then you go all the way to California. Like, why? This is awful.
It's my dream. It's my dream life to live that carefree. But I was like, you know, I think you can have my kind of, like, happy, carefree life. You just need to stop controlling everything and really, like, whatever happens, happens. And reframe it as, like, a positive rather than a negative. And not think that every little thing, like your headache, is a cancer. So if you can relate, I guess, to the abnormalness that is Vincent's anxiety, that should probably be your main goal. Because I feel like we were struggling this year. Now that, like, for us, life is pretty good to come up with.
It's the emptiness.
Yeah.
It's the, like, okay, I did it all.
Yeah.
I did the thing. I worked in the industry and I made money for 6 years now. Doing this animation thing. I really don't want for much, and it's that emptiness of, like, what do I do now, that like, I think it's like, I was telling you, like, like, I think, was it yesterday or the day before that, like, coming here almost feels like I don't deserve the good things, and that, like, my brain is constantly inventing reasons for me to stress about bullshit.
Mm-hmm. Because, like, there's nothing left to stress.
There's nothing left to there's in a place like there's nothing left for you to stress about. But, like, my mind kept grasping, and like I said, I never worried about my health, and my mind finally grasped to your health. You worry about your health. I don't want to worry anymore. You
have been doing a really good job.
No, you're just saying.
No, I'm not. It's only been the first 2 weeks of the year, and I think you've already made huge improvements. Normally, your anxiety really does get the best of you and kind of intrudes on your life a lot. From, like, nightmares to just, like, talking to people. But I think you, for the first time, have been adopting yoga and meditation, things that I always did, and you're like, oh, hooey shit that you do. Strange. I really never thought you would do it, and I think it really has been helping. We've been hiking a lot, going on after lunch strolls.
We made a baked ziti together. Mm-hmm. That was a lot of fun. We haven't cooked together since the apartment days, since, like, 6 years ago,
when we really had to save.
Yeah.
And then you got me addicted to eating out a lot because we had the money to.
Oh yeah, you were working at Disney. I was working at where I'm working at. Ooh! We go out to eat all the time.
So a lot can happen in a very short amount of time. I think by the end of the year, you're gonna do it.
You think so? Yeah. I worry about it. I have anxiety about getting rid of my anxiety.
And I just 100% in my heart just believe.
You think I will?
Yeah, that's my nature. I have no proof. I have just my belief in you.
Janet has a lot of belief. A lot of faith.
In humanity. This episode...
I don't have faith in any of you.
This episode, we're recommending you watch Sopranos. I'm sure a lot of you have already watched it. But if you haven't, if you're too young, I really recommend watching at least the first season.
At least the first season.
Yes. If you don't want to watch past that, that's fine. But like, I really started falling in love with the characters after the first season. And even though all the other seasons, it's not that they're bad, they're just not quite as complete the way, let's say, like a show like Breaking Bad is. I love just hanging out with them.
Yeah, the first season and I guess half of the second season just had the greatest villain for the protagonist ever. And the show has a hard time finding another person to fill that shoes for Tony.
It becomes more kind of procedural, like the way old TV shows used to be.
But there are some moments where we watch an episode and we go like,
oh,
that's
so
just so good. That's good TV, man.
I would say the first season and the last season are the best. And then all the seasons in between are like hanging out with friends that you like.
Yeah. It's the characters. It's not actually like the plot and what they're doing. It's really fun. There's this great season with Steve Buscemi though, who's just so good.
He doesn't even do all that much in that season, but
it's an acting show too.
Yeah.
So, and it's cool because there's some amateur actors with like titans, like Gandolfini and the guy who plays Uncle June. But then like when Buscemi comes in and acts against a lot of these actors, it's amazing. Even when he's acting against the amateur actors, it's almost like, any good actor makes the amateur actors feel good and make them feel like they can deliver too. And then when he's acting with them, you could really feel it, like, oh yeah, I want to try hard because Buscemi's trying hard. Buscemi,
like, it's not that he was like extraordinary the way like the main characters in the first season are. He's just really natural. He like exudes every character that he plays, no matter if it's like in a movie or in just like a small little villain character in a TV show. I was just like, wow, I can take a lot from the way he. It's really interesting to see amateur actors next to him because you can see how stiff they are in comparison to him. Whereas he's always doing something, he's always looking,
always using his eyes. Man.
He has such an expressive face. I wouldn't say he has a beautiful face, but he has like really big eyes and really big expressive mouth and like that brow ridge. So yes, watch and study The Sopranos. It has phenomenal writing.
So good.
If you like this episode, make sure to like, subscribe, jingle all our bells and buttons. Check out these other episodes next to binge all our other episodes, and we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.